Can you hear us?
Can you see us?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Is it us? Can
Do you hear us? Because we can't hear you. But if you can hear us, I think we can start the show. Can we start the show?
I think we can start
Do
the
they hear
show.
us? Do you hear us? Do you see us? Okay, let's start the show.
We are Igudesman Joo.
No, let's start the show. Start the show.
roller. Are you starting the roller?
We already rolled that.
Oh my God! You see, we're so good on failing on the show, how to fail and succeed.
Guys,
I don't know when we're going to get to
girls.
the succeed part, but we're doing very well with the failure part.
Amazing. So we are Igudesman Joo. We make music and we make humor. Do you make humor? Create humor, but also we love to talk.
You know
to
what humor is in Finnish? Humoria.
Humoria. Yeah, that's
Humoria.
right. So what we also love to do is to impart our wisdom, or especially our wisdom of failing, because we think failing is succeeding, and this is the whole show basically. We talk about how to fail and succeed, and sometimes we even talk about practical things like money. This is, by the way,
Money.
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 We will tell you during the show how to get that rich that you can afford to do this.
That you can afford to print your own money.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
But before we do that,
let's introduce our team here.
our team here. Yes.
Amazing people. This is, well, of course, I think some of you may know this very handsome gentleman over there on the right.
The mosquito. He said it himself.
mosquito.
This Alex Huben, the
Hello,
mosquito
everybody.
who drives a Ferrari and wears sunglasses.
Exactly. Wait, and then on the other side, it's Yasha.
Yasha Geber, which means give it to me. Like
Exactly.
Geber 5.
And
Give it to me.
ladies last, but she is the most wonderful, incredible
I don't know if
lady.
she's the most wonderful.
She is the most wonderful
Is she-
on this bench.
Ah, okay, yes, okay,
Without
alright,
a doubt,
okay,
on the
okay.
sofa, she's the
Yes.
most wonderful lady. And it is, of course,
Sophie Le.
Drummel.
Drummel. For the English-speaking people, it's Drummel.
Drummel.
For the French people, it's Drummel.
Some of you may know her as Sophie Oui Oui. For some bizarre reason, you do stuff with the TwoSet boys. And why is this Sophie? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so I do some things with TwoSet Violin.
Yes.
We went on tour last 2 years ago before Corona.
Yeah, and they have you on the shows to do silly stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we
Just a
did.
quick thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it grammatically incorrect, TwoSet violin? Shouldn't it be TwoSet violins?
Z plural.
Z? Can
We'll
you
talk
tell-
about.
yeah.
We'll talk about them. Tell them, please. Yeah, go on.
So yeah, we did some videos together, and in one of them, Eddie introduced me as, and this is Sophie, and somehow he just said "oui oui." It was like a coincidence.
I think you want to go to the toilet.
Maybe that could. I think it's
Could
more
be.
more the French oui oui, right?
Yeah, but I don't think he even thought about that, but it just slipped out. And then the editor put like a baguette and a French hat on me. And since then it became a thing. And people think I'm French, which I'm not.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Kind of like it here in France.
So anyway, Sophie will actually read out some of your.
We should call her Sophie Nono.
So
for
Sophie
this.
Nono,
Sophie Nono.
Drummel,
Or Le.
who is actually an amazing pianist and violinist.
Yeah, that's what's disgusting about her.
That's-
Is
we'll
she's
get
not
to
only
that
good
later.
at the... I mean, should we check out how good she is at scales?
How good is she at scale?
This is how good she is at scales.
Are we gonna watch something now?
No, let's. This is disgusting. This is she's like a violinist, right? This is a violinist, but here's a violinist playing scales on the piano.
Okay, let's have a
This
look.
is-
It's very good scales.
They're very good scales.
very, very nice.
Impeccable.
Very
Polished.
nice looking
Look at that.
Polish scales. Polished.
Disgusting.
Anyway,
Really
so
disgusting. Really disgusting.
she is an amazing musician, and that's why we misuse her just to read. Out your scores.
But she'll read them in a very musical way.
Absolutely, she will. Anyway, but to fail, because this show is about failing and how to fail in a successful way.
And you have failed because nobody has won a prize.
Exactly.
We always ask a little competition, like, you know, we have a question or we ask you to send in your most epic fails and whatever. And the winner of the last show is nobody.
Absolutely no one. So we will
So
do.
well done for failing there.
Exactly. So what are we going to talk about? I have no idea. You're the guy.
Am I the guy today? Well,
so.
first of all, before we get into the subject of money, let's look at let's look at a little bit of failing on stage. This is the Justin Bieber. I think he's the grandson of Heinrich Bieber.
Yes.
And
The
this
Baroque
is the
composer.
Baroque. This is he's the rock, and he
Rock.
was the Baroque.
And the other one, and he was actually, he didn't have a lot of money. That's why he was also the broke composer.
very good.
Money.
Yeah, money. So this is Justin Bieber on stage playing the piano. Can he play the piano?
Of course he can.
Not as good as Sophie Drummer.
Not as good. No one.
No
can
one.
play
No,
as
no
good
way.
as Sophie.
Okay, here we go. Oh, what's that? Oh,
No. Now,
and he's just walking around like nothing happened. 'Cause
yeah,
he's
how
so
can
cool.
you make a success out of your piano falling over? That's a tough one.
We almost had a piano falling over.
We had a
remember?
piano crash. The lid crashed.
Oh,
down.
that's true. That also. That was a performance in America. We were doing Rachmaninoff with big hands,
Yes.
where I throw pieces of wood in the air and he catches them, and it's quite some chunky piano playing happening.
No, your piano playing is always very chunky.
Thank you, Hyung-ki. Anyway, so and the lid just went crash.
Crash.
And the amazing thing is that people thought it was part of the show.
Yeah. But also we had a piano basically nearly falling over as well in
Georgia.
Except
not Georgia, America.
it was the other
Georgia
Georgia.
next to Armenia.
Yeah. But
yes.
that was it. The piano nearly fell.
It nearly
over.
fell. There's a photo to prove it.
But
it did not.
It did not fall, and we don't have the photo, so we can't
we
even
don't
prove it.
So it was actually pointless to mention it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, but failures are so important in our lives because it, first of all, it teaches us how not to fail again in that way. But at the same time, it very often what seems to be a failure is actually something that propels us further, or even it can be a success in many ways. So
I saw something fantastic the other day from Denzel Washington,
Okay.
the multi-Academy Award-winning actor, and he was giving a speech, and he said, "Fall 7 times, get up 8 times." He obviously wasn't very good at maths.
yeah, but I see what you mean. Yeah,
No, it's
true.
beautiful.
Of course.
Absolutely right.
And what did the guy who invented the light bulb say?
Something like, "I have not failed 10,000 times. It's only taken me 10,000 attempts to see which one works," or something like that.
Yeah, beautifully quoted. Actually, it's also quoted.
Terribly quoted.
It's also quoted in our book, Save the World, Rette die Welt. It's
Yes.
we have a book where we talk about all of our failures and how to fail and succeed. It's very much quoted in that book.
There's only one way you can read that book, though.
By speaking German.
Ja. Wenn Sie Deutsch sprechen, dann können Sie dieses Buch lesen.
Ja.
Wenn nicht,
If not,
dann...
tough luck. We will release it in English one day, but today is not the day.
Yes. So get your Duolingo or whatever Berlitz app you want and start learning. Entschuldigen Sie, meine Damen und Herren, aber wo ist die Post, bitteschön?
Anyway.
Yes.
So, guys, how are you doing on the couch? Anything interesting happening on your side? Anything exciting? No.
Mr. Mosquito,
All good.
nothing.
No.
They're just playing along.
They're just playing.
Yes.
Well, let's
Well,
just carry on.
Enjoying the show.
Yeah,
Excellent.
That's wonderful.
Just worrying about the sound all the time.
Oh, how are we
Is
doing?
the sound okay?
It might have been back to crappy for a few seconds, but then it worked again. So I'm
Okay.
not sure if that was actually on YouTube or
Please
just on my
speak into
computer.
the microphone if you want to speak. Yes.
It should be good now again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasha, for those incredibly wise words. Almost on a level with Denzel Washington. I would rate it like Denzel Washington, Yasha Geber, right? Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah.
We've lost him.
And
We've
then
lost him.
Einstein.
Doesn't matter. Einstein.
After me.
Einstein, by the way, for all of you who don't speak German, means 1 stone.
Yes. Exactly.
You're just 1 stone away from genius.
So let's go on with
Think
the
about that.
Let's go on with the show because we have very exciting
Yes.
things to tell you.
Yes. So money. We actually have used money in our shows. What? Why is that so hilarious? I'm pretty sure I said more funny things than that. But I'm glad you're laughing.
It's so mundane. It's so stupid. It's so pointless. It's like the people who are watching this are like, why am I watching this?
Because we are going to get to some very serious stuff.
We're going to tell you how to get rich.
Yes. Well, or at
Quick.
least, yeah.
Slow. Actually, it's much better to get rich slow because it stays for longer.
No,
It's like-
money has been an element in our shows for a theatrical reason.
Yes.
For example, we used it in a show called Clash of the Soloists, where you kind of wear something very similar to
I
this.
kind of used. This is my old outfit of the Clash of the Soloists, actually.
And basically, he comes on waggling a wad of cash.
Yes, and I throw it into the public, like I'm throwing this money towards you. So these are, I don't know if you can see them.
No.
No.
That's brilliant.
I will go to...
Do we have an overlay? No,
Yes.
we have an overlay.
Oh.
No, Yasha can.
Oh,
Yasha
it's
can.
so professional.
Yes,
so
yes, yes.
professional. We
Wow,
have to
amazing. Amazing.
By the way, someone said nice bling.
Nice bling, I know. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. By the way, guys, if you have any questions towards anything, it's whether it's about us, it's about the subject, or completely by the by, please don't keep them to yourselves. Just ask them away, write them in the comments, and Sophie will
Read them out very musically.
Read them out very, very musically.
Yes.
So we did.
And also, we did a piece called "Give Money for Greece," because do you remember there was a time when Greece was going through a big economic crisis?
Are we going to show any of that?
We could.
We could, couldn't
Let's see how quickly we can get that up.
we? Yeah, that would be
Let's
amazing.
see. Let me see. You know. Wow.
Oh, wow,
Here
that
we go.
was
Look at
fast.
that. Look at that. Do you see how fast that was? Here we go. You're looking very Greek there.
Please give money. Give money for Greece. No, seriously, it sounds better with money.
Music does
Please,
sound better with
front
money.
row. I
Music
know
does
you have
sound better
money.
with money.
Huh? Somebody money? Don't look away, lady. Don't. Please, somebody money. Musician, you have money? No, money.
Musicians don't have
Musician,
money.
not.
Musicians never have
No
money.
one. Come on, you have. I see a purse, somebody. Look
Look at that. See? This is how you make money in a concert.
And look, and now
He not from here.
look at this. You see, music sounds better with money. Or at least it sounds more Greek. I'll leave it a little more. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yes.
And then it's
I think this sounds even better with drachmas.
yes. This is the former Greek currency.
Yes. Anyway,
And then it turns into something else. So money. I mean, the theme of today is money, but it's not just simply money as in like how do we use money in a show, but is how appropriate is it to ask for a fee as a musician? Now, this sounds a bit ridiculous. Obviously, all musicians should receive fees. One would think. But how often are you, as a musician, do you get asked to play for exposure or for an exchange for a little bit of food or whatever? This is fine. But you really need to know when and what for. So there's actually a very, very nice a picture. I think, do you have the picture of the... Oh,
Yes, we have.
Yasha has it. I have no idea which picture you're pulling up. Which one is it? Oh, that one. I love that picture. Just check out that picture. It just explains it so well. Yeah?
I'm not getting paid for this surgery per se, but the patient assured me it would be great exposure. I give most of my legal counsel away for free on the internet, but sometimes people click my donate button. I'd have a better shot at health insurance if I worked at Starbucks. I don't get that. Oh, I get that.
So basically, look, it is absolutely always up to everyone whether you play for free, whether you play for an exchange of a service, or what you do. But we musicians, we do have to live. So I'm telling this for you people listening who are not musicians, but also for you musicians to remember that. Now, simple exposure can be important. The last time actually we talked about how important it is just to perform wherever it is, whenever it is. But at the same time, it is also it's a tightrope really. It's a really real balance act as well. There should be a certain amount of pride within yourself that you have a certain fee. Now, how do you determine your fee? This is actually a really important big question, and it's very much like how do you determine how much a company is worth? Yeah, you can calculate certain things, but at the very beginning, when you're starting off, it's like you have to guess, you have to try it out. But the moment that you quote a fee, Sophie, this is also maybe interesting for you. The moment you quote a fee and they pay it to you, that's your fee.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Have you had that experience ever?
No, but everyone tells me it's that way.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, basically, your maximum fee is your fee. Or that would be in a dream scenario, of course. But it is a difficult one. How much should you ask for? I think we would suggest definitely ask around what other people are getting. Depends what field you're playing in. Of course, depends what kind of music you're playing, etc.
Well, a lot depends also. I mean, the way you can make a certain calculation is to find out what hall you're playing in and how many seats are being sold.
Ticket sales.
And you can sort of work out a general capacity if it's like, let's say, half full or 2/3 full, that it would generate a certain amount of income, and then you can do a certain amount of arithmetic to say, well, that amount would go to cover costs, that would go to the promoter, so you'd be left with this amount. And from that, you could kind of make an estimate of what you should deserve to get. Doesn't mean that's what you'll get.
Also, certain halls, of course, even do that. They have a 70-30 split or 80-20. That's even better. Of course, more money for the artists. And that is, of course, in a way, it can be a fair thing. And some places have a guarantee. And after a certain amount, you get that split.
The thing is, money's not an easy thing to talk about. I mean, I remember, because I went to a very idealistic music school where it was just all about music 24 hours a day. And I was living in this environment for 7 years.
Interesting. What's the name of that school?
It's a school called the Igudesman Joo School.
Yes,
I
went
met
there too.
someone who looked like you.
Yeah, it was me.
When I was about, it was you.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that when I left the Menuhin School and went to New York City, I'll never forget, because no one had ever told me that I will need to make a living out of this, that I deserve to make a living out of this.
It's funny how schools forget to teach you that little details.
Well, this is one of the flaws of the education system in general, is they don't train you, prepare you for life at all. They might prepare you how to win a competition or whatever, how to be successful in an audition, how to play a Paganini. But then once you're in the real world, how are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to pay your school fees? And I remember the second week I was there, a singer approached me and said, "Hey man, you're a pianist, right?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Do you think you could just play a few songs for me?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So he said, "What about now? Do you have some time now?" I said, "Yeah, okay, let's go. Let's try and find a room." So we went, and he put some songs on the piano, and I played through, and must have been playing some songs for about an hour. And then he said, "Oh, that's great, man. That's great, man. Here, so what do I owe you?" And this was completely an alien concept to me. I was like, "No, it's fine." He said, "No. What do I owe you? I mean, for your time." And I just did not understand. He could have been speaking Greek to me, and he was also perplexed. He was also stunned by this guy who was saying, "Oh no, it's okay, you don't have to pay me anything." That he actually took $10 out and shoved it in my pocket. He just shoved it. He said, "Here, take this." Because I think it was just much easier for him. I think it was easier for him to deal with paying me rather than dealing with the fact that he just abused me for an hour. But I didn't think of it as an abuse because I came from the Igudesman school where music is everything and we should just play music for the pleasure of it. So this is exactly what we're wanting to prevent happening to you out there.
You should always play music for the pleasure of it. Every time, without a doubt.
Whether you're paid or not.
Yeah, exactly. Never, ever, of course, never play for money. But the problem is, you're not getting money to play. Because the playing part, it's that tip of the triangle of your work, right? This is your what you're getting paid for. But your work that you've put in, it's this huge triangle. This is all the hours you've been practicing, all the hours you've been creating, all the hours that you've spent learning.
All the hours that your
studying.
parents drove you to your violin lesson, drove you to music camp, bought a new, clarinet, bought new reeds, this, that, new bow. The amount of money they put into that you could go into music school. This is thousands have gone in.
And musicians often forget, and other people even also often forget that musicians need to live. I mean, there's one story, I think, of your friend, you told me of Sergey, right, who went to the bank to deposit some money.
Yeah, he played some concert and he got like, I don't know, $300 or something. And he was depositing it and I can't remember the exact situation, but the bank teller said, what's this for? And he said, I'm a concert pianist. I just played a recital. And she says, oh, wow, so much. My God, but what's your job? So first of all, it was like a double slap. First of all, $300 is not a lot of money, whether this was in the 1990s or today. Yeah. And secondly, the fact that she said the classic thing, but what's your day job?
And that's why many people think this is a miss. And that's why we want to tell you how, as a musician, you can end up with 1 million on your bank account.
Huh? What do you mean?
How you can end up with $1 million on your bank account as a musician. Do you want to know? Start with 2 million. That's a guaranteed way of ending up with 1 million.
He's also not good at maths.
So let's debunk that myth. And I think it's really, really important that as a musician as well, as musicians, we become much more money savvy. We learn how to ask for money. Now, how do you ask for money yourself? I think there are different ways. Some people feel uncomfortable, but of course it is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable.
Difficult to ask for money.
But also, if you determine what your fee is, then you can just say this is my regular fee that I receive. Then it's still, you can always negotiate. People say, that's a bit more than I can afford. Nobody's going to say, that's too little, I'd like to pay you more. But mostly people are going to say like, that's a bit more than I imagined. And then it's going to be a little negotiation. But it's very, very normal to have a price. Every plumber who you call to come to your home has a price.
Yeah.
As a musician,
if you do too much caca in your toilet, you need the plumber to come.
Exactly. And as a musician, you're not less trained than a plumber, so you should also learn what is your price. Determine what your price is, and then don't be scared of asking for that.
I would even add that if you are willing to perform somewhere for free, for whatever reasons, I mean, it's your choice if you want to perform for no money, but I would still ask for expenses.
Yes, exactly. Look, sometimes you get an opportunity like that famous exposure thing. But, if you realize it really is that great exposure, then at least ask for something to cover your expenses that you don't lose money playing, if possible at all. Now, how do you accept a gig? Generally, we kind of have more or less a rule of a few questions, and it's very simple. So one of the questions is it well paid? Is it paid? Is it well paid? Is it great exposure? That means, is it prestigious?
Is it career enhancing?
Yeah, career enhancing. Is it a favor you're doing for a friend or somebody in the family? Of course, that can be counted. Or is it something?
Get onto that. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
But it's a good point. Why not talk about that? So, for example,
1 second.
how are we doing? The sound is
you back. No, I'm the Johann Sebastian Bach.
Okay,
we're back. Okay,
sorry about that. Logic, the program that we're recording this just decided to crash, so we're back. We failed
very
again.
illogical.
Anyway, so as we were saying about the, I don't know when you guys lost us, but
I think
basically
they lost us a hello.
basically we're talking about money as well. When to say yes, when to say no to it. So you have the different metrics. So is it well paid? Is it a great exposure or something very prestigious? Is it altruistic? So is it like a charity or some sort, or is it a friendship or a family favor that you're doing, or is it a routing date? If you have, for example, if you are on a tour and you have a night off somewhere and you need the hotel covered, you may take a performance that is a little bit less than your usual, or even significantly less what you usually get, but at least you're not losing money on that date. And that's basically how we determine whether we accept a performance or not. It's just not a bad thing to keep in mind as a musician generally, I think.
How is it for you, Sophie? I mean, you're kind of breaking into the scene. You're still a student, but you get to perform. I mean, you performed...
with us, actually.
Also.
As a guest.
Yes, at the Vienna Musikverein. But I mean, just last week you performed Mozart's Violin Concerto, and the week before Schumann's Piano Concerto. Hope everybody heard that right, by the way.
It's insane. It's
Mozart Violin Concerto, and the week before Schumann's Piano Concerto. It's disgusting. But anyway, that's who we have here on the couch. How is it for you when you're confronted with the prospect of playing, the opportunity of playing? Of course you want to play, of course you want exposure, but at the same time, you also don't want to be broke. So how do you deal with this?
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I'm learning every day. I mean, when I was younger, I used to do everything because I wanted to play everywhere and do everything. And but now I know that I need to make a living out of it and pay my rent and pay for food. So you have to think about this. But I mean, I am very lucky, I have to say. With the concerts I'm getting right now, and it's mostly okay, it's well paid. And yeah, of course, if they ask you to play for free, you have to think about things. Why? Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, another reason for me is also to sort of practice the program if I need it for somewhere else.
That's
Sure.
true. We didn't mention that if you need to practice it anyway. Yeah.
Yes. But of course, you need to know your worth, because we are very lucky that we are doing what we love as a job, but it's still a job. So
Absolutely. We need to live. We need to eat.
yes, and I think a very big problem is also that, especially for young musicians and also students, it may sound harsh, but everyone is replaceable, kind of. I mean, that's not what I think. But for some concert people that engage you, and we tend to sort of ruin the market for ourselves if everyone asks for less and for less and for less.
Well, that's
then
a
where do we
massive
end
comment.
up?
That's a huge comment, which please go on. I just want
Same
to say
thing
this.
for filmmaking, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's also very competitive. So my question is if like one owes it to the fellow musicians to not go too low on your price. I don't know if it's the same for music, because
Yeah, absolutely. Well, primarily you owe it to yourself. Yeah. Because you can ruin your own price. Because I tell you something, in spite of what you think, promoters and concert agents, especially local ones, they talk. They do talk, and if you play somewhere for very, very little, then they'll hear. But I heard that you played somewhere for half the price that you're asking me now. And then what are you going to say? Yes, but that was because of the guy who was, you can't really say that. And we had these circumstances, literally, that like, oh, but I heard that the price is much less. Because one time you said, okay, we'll make an exception. So you have to be very clever about it and really just put some thought into it. It's and I think it does help. Do you have prices? But both of you guys actually, do you have prices that you in your head know what your performance is?
Yeah.
You do. Do you as well?
yeah, I try to have like a minimum level of engagement. So just something like where I know that below that it just doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah.
And that's just something I tell clients, like at minimum we would have to have this
Right.
budget, and above that it just changes the scope. maybe that's a different concept in filmmaking because
A little bit, yeah.
you can't really have a scope in music, right? But
I can play for you quite well.
just half of it.
For 1,000 euros, but for 5,000 euros, it'll be a fantastic performance. I think we should start doing that. I
Well,
think
there's the famous joke, or I don't think it's even a joke. I think it's Enescu or something was approached to give a violin lesson, and the person couldn't afford it, something like this. So they kept trying to bargain the price down because obviously he's an Enescu, so he can charge for quite a lot.
Yeah.
And he said, well, if you really want lessons at whatever, $50 now, I can do that, but I wouldn't recommend them.
that's very nice.
But yeah, something else I wanted to say is that if you have your fee, the worst that can happen is that they say, no, this is too much. But then in a way you also get respected more than afterwards because she has this price. And because if you then say, oh no, okay, let's go lower, then that's what you said before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, no, go ahead.
I have a question just to add on to that because do you think in music that you're more desirable as a musician if you charge more? Like, does that have an effect on just by saying I'm worth double of what Sophie's worth as a pianist?
This is
Like-
this is a tightrope because you can also piss promoters off.
Yeah.
You can piss people off, and like Alexis said, they talk, so they'll be like, "Hey, Mr. X is like charging me a ridiculous right arm leg, and it's like, who does he think he is?"
Yeah.
So you can also generate a bad reputation for yourself by being too greedy or by being over. So it's a very fine balance.
You need to do your research. Just like you do your due diligence, so to speak. I mean, research how much in your field are other people getting. Ask your friends just generally what they get. Ask professionals what they get, and just try to determine, feel it out, and then you basically you find out yourself. But again, the moment somebody's paying you a certain fee, that is your fee.
That's one of the reasons why musicians' unions were set up, and that's why they're quite strong in a lot of countries. So you can always, if you need advice, you can always consult your local musicians' union branch.
Yeah, like in Russia.
Yeah.
No
I
such
don't think
thing.
it's a musicians' union. And
You can call Putin.
say, look, I've been offered this concert. I'm playing like 40 minutes of music. I'm just a certain age. I've just blah, etc., etc. And ask them for advice. And they'll give you a sort of generic rate, and then from there you could sort of make some
figure it
kind of
out.
figure out. Yeah.
Yeah, so Anna Winson says that all of what you're saying seems to be very common in any artistic activity. Graphic artists and dancers are also notoriously shortchanged when it comes to payment. It seems that people think that because we enjoy what we do, it's not a real job.
Exactly. This is absolutely true. And I think we have to explain something. Again, imagine this huge triangle of this is your work. What you're doing live is this little tip of it. And all the bottom is all the work that you're putting into it. So it's also important to communicate that to people who try to shortchange you, etc.
Cooks, a lot of cooks love cooking too, but they need to be paid. I mean, they need to have, they went shopping.
Yeah.
And they put in time and effort into cooking that meal. And if it's a good restaurant, that's thanks to the cook. And she loves cooking. So what? You pay your price,
I think it's really important, of course, for artists to support each other as well, especially in these difficult Corona times. So, for example, Barbara Hannigan, amazing singer, she set up something called Momentum, where we actually also had Sophie and her sister, wonderful cellist and pianist as well. They performed as a duo in our show, and they switched around instruments and just played brilliantly.
Because they can.
In the Vienna Musikverein, that was. And Momentum,
Why
for
does
example...
a dog?
Yes, So basically, the idea of it is that you invite a young surprise artist to perform with you.
Or an up-and-coming
artist. And the fee is paid. There is a fee paid. It's not just like, oh, come and play for an opportunity. But the fee is paid 1/3 by us, 1/3 by Momentum, and 1/3 by the presenter, who very kindly also contributed to that. So, things like that help. And as well, we all have to remember music and art in general has to be paid. But I think I'd like to get to another part of it also. It's how do you accumulate money if the shit hits the fan? So that means if Corona happens. Wow. In many countries, no help at all. Some countries, a little bit of help. How do you avoid getting into that situation? Now, and just like a physical, real investment, as a musician, we very much encourage you to diversify. See what different income streams you can even have as a musician. So that means, do you teach? Do you write music? What other things are you able to do within your field? Because if you are a teacher, you can still teach online. If you write music, you can still write music. You still get royalties for it.
Much later.
It is later, but for example, this is something that helped us definitely through the difficult times, because when our concert stopped, our royalties were still streaming for all the performances that we did. Of course, then you can use filmed material, something like Music Traveler TV. You can upload it on musictraveler.tv and earn money through that. So through an additional income there. There are many, many different opportunities. Stay creative also within how to earn money. And one more thing I'd like to say, don't be afraid of physically investing. Very often as artists, we kind of think like, oh, we just think about art and that's the only important, and we both did for years and years and years. But actually at one point, take a little bit of that huge amount of money that you earn for a concert, or not so much money, and just put it away, put it into the bank. But don't just put it onto your bank account. Don't be, that's pointless. But buy yourself. Well, it's
pointless today because the interest rates are so low. The interest rates are
exactly. And there's a lot of times when you have money on the bank, they make you pay. And then the inflation that, that's like you get less money, then you make you pay. And then the inflation comes, your money is worth nothing. So, for example, there's many different ways to in investing. This is not an investing video, but just to give you a little bit of a feeling for it. Please, you can buy stocks. They're wonderful stocks. Crypto. Whatever. What? Crypto. Yeah, we'll get to the crypto. You can buy stocks. You can buy individual stocks or something called an ETF, which is a mix of different stocks. And even those but they may drop. But we're talking about long-term things. Put a little bit in. Once a month, put $50 in or €50 or whatever.
Well, I think it's good early on just to look into insurance savings and things like that. Even if it's just
it grows through the year.
Even if it's just €5, it's like putting in a piggy bank. You put all your small change.
Exactly, but
the only thing is with a piggy bank, it grows only in volume, but it doesn't grow in value.
Exactly.
But by putting it into something that will give a little bit of an interest or a little bit of return after a while. And you don't think about it, and then on a rainy day, you might need it.
Or not just a rainy day, but actually when you plan to retire, etc. Of course, there's real estate. If you're able to get a credit, that can be a good thing. But that really depends on your country. I wouldn't just say, very often in the UK, musicians are like, first thing I'm going to do is buy a house. But then you buy a house and you have a loan for 50 years, and you're paying more money than you would have ever paid for anything else. You can't afford anything else except for paying for that mortgage. Maybe not the best idea. Sometimes you have to, just really depends where you live. And like Alexander as well said, of course, there's a possibility, a very new, very fresh way of investing is cryptocurrency, which I personally believe is definitely the future in many ways. And if you want to stay very safe, I'm not going to get into all the different coins you can invest, but if you could stay very safe, invest just really a few euros into Bitcoin or into Ethereum. They're the two big players. just a few euros. Make it safe. Don't make that. I would not recommend that to be your only and main investment, but just an additional thing. And if you invest into different things, into your career, you invest at the same time into playing live, into maybe teaching a bit, and you invest into being a composer, you got royalties on that side, then perhaps you buy a little bit of stocks, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If one thing drops, you have all the other things. And this is something you unfortunately we're not taught at music school at all, or at art school, because we're just taught how to be these wonderful artists, if that. But these things are really, really important to know and to remember, and start today. Don't think about it. Yeah, I should do it.
I'll do it when I have some money.
Yeah, well, exactly. No, doesn't matter if you have.
If you have only 10 euros now, put 50 cents aside.
Yeah. Make it easy. Put 50 cents aside. What it's you're not going to feel it. It doesn't matter. But those things grow, and you know it makes you feel better. It'll definitely help you on the long run, right? So I wanted to ask you guys as well. Are you? I know, Alex, that you do a bit of cryptocurrency. What do you do, Sophie? Do you do anything investment wise? Do you put any money away yet?
Nope.
So I hope this inspires you as well.
I will after this episode, I guess.
Please do. Even this a small thing, look into it, research, take your time. Everybody, please take your time. Don't just say, oh, he said buy Bitcoin. No, it's stupid.
Disclaimer, we're not financial advisors. And
Exactly, we're not financial advisors in any way. But we just encourage it. So also just have a look at, what can you buy something? So it's something like an ETF, for example. That's it's a very safe thing, because then ETF, for example, is something that tracks like the S&P 500 or like which is the 500 biggest companies in the USA. Most likely, they are not all going to crash at the same time. And even if they do, within some months' time, they will recover and be at all-time highs again. Things like that. You put a little bit in, you forget about it. And
if you follow Alex's advice, remember the joke. How do you end up with $1 million on your account? Start with 2 million.
Exactly. So
another thing is, if you're playing a concert and you don't get paid, what to do? One thing that you can definitely do is you can report the promoter to the IAMA, the International Artist Management Association.
Yeah, the Hyung-ki here, of course, is talking about those rare but unfortunately still happening circumstances of when you have a negotiated fee and the presenter is just refusing to pay for
afterwards.
Pay you afterwards. That means you have decided on a fee and the presenter says like, oh no, sorry, I don't have any money, or even just says claims to go bankrupt. Very often, as musicians, as artists, we're kind of powerless, because are we going to sue them? I mean, it's
to sue costs money.
It costs money
and energy,
and most likely you're going to lose more money trying to sue them, and they know it. So one way of doing that, of course, is reporting, but one way of doing it, to consider to do it, it's not always possible, but when you're at a certain level, what we try to do is we do insist on a certain deposit. So, for example, when you're getting booked for a concert and they're very serious, they really want you, and you say, we'd like to have 50% of the money ahead. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody does do it. It's not very common in the classical music world. It's a little more common in the pop world and other fields. But it is also for you as a filmmaker, it's something to consider, because very often you put in a lot of effort and a lot of energy into planning it, and then suddenly it doesn't happen. And all of the work that you've put in is gone. So this is something to think about.
And if you're young and starting out, this might all seem a little bit too over your head, or you feel like you're not at that league to demand some things. But I definitely wish that when I was young and starting out, that I got at least some percentage of this advice. For example, that I wouldn't have to at least book my own travel, because the amounts of times where I had to book my own travel and I was on such a shoestring budget, and even if I would put it on a credit card, I couldn't afford to pay for my flight to go and play for the concert. And as a result of them not paying my travel fee, I was often in minus. So as a poor artist, I ended up being a bank for these rich organizations. And so try to at least ask, demand, say, look, I'm sorry, I don't have a cash flow. Please, would you book the flight tickets or the train tickets for me?
Absolutely.
And I think that's a very reasonable
That's the minimum
request.
Very, very reasonable request.
So that the burden doesn't end up on your bank account and your credit card.
Exactly.
So
Even if it's an all-in fee, you can always ask ahead of time at least the travel money. But that way, if something falls out and you've booked it, at least the money is not,
That's
not
right.
sitting on you. You wanted to ask something.
I just wanted to ask, like, if you're really young, let's say 10 or 12, like, at what point do you start charging money? Is it something you can always do? Does it depend on your skill level? Like, what does a
good
really
question.
young musician
I
have
think
to know?
first of all, it depends on how wise your parents are.
Yeah.
And
You don't
whether-
get to keep the money at that age.
Whether your
unfortunately.
parents are greedy sons of bitches and they just want their kids to be like working slaves so they can just cash in, or whether they genuinely care for their kids' development and growth and they genuinely care about investing some of that money, which is rightfully theirs, aside so that when they are 18 or of legal age to have it, there's something there for them.
But it's very normal to ask also for young performers for money. So the age is not a problem at all.
Skill level?
Skill, well, obviously it's a skill. Well, it's demand level. Interestingly enough, I mean, in music, it's in any artistic form, who is to say that Picasso is a better painter than Georges Braque or Andy Warhol, or that this 10-year-old kid who looks very cute but maybe scratching around and sounds horrible, but if like 1,000 people go and pay tickets to see him, it's why should he demand less money? So it's really your demand level. At the same time, in pop music as well, it's not like how virtuoso you sing, but it's who's going to pay for your tickets.
Well,
and
it's
who
that
wants to see you.
wonderful response of André Rieu in an interview. I think it was with the Salzburg Nachrichten, I'm not sure, but they interviewed him and they wanted to kind of poke him a little bit because André Rieu is one of the most famous violinists in the world, but in the classical establishment he's not really taken seriously as a classical violinist because he doesn't play Beethoven Wagner concertos, let's say. But of course what he does is he brings a lot of joy to people, and so this reporter was trying to sort of be acerbic and said, yes, how come, the Salzburg Festival has never invited you?
Yeah, when do you think the
when do you think
the Salzburg,
Salzburg
Festival would invite you?
Knowing, of course, full well that the Salzburg Festival would never invite someone like André Rieu because they don't consider him worthy of playing in a place like this. And his response was fantastic. He said, ooh, I don't think the venues are large enough for me at the Salzburg Festival.
Yeah,
'Cause,
so it
of
wouldn't
course,
really make any sense.
André Rieu is a megastar, and he doesn't need the validation of the Salzburg Festival. He's doing perfectly fine.
Yeah. So, of course, then just some questions as well. When and where should you play for free? I think there are special, bigger events, for example, when it is TV. It is very... Not always. Sometimes one does get some nominal fee, but not often. And it is press coverage. I think is normal. For example, if the president of America, some inauguration or something like this.
I played once for the president of the United States. I didn't get any money.
Yeah, you see, that's
Got
so
nothing.
that exactly. So there is some big prize, some charity. Now, some charity events do pay. Because
True.
Exactly, so that really depends. Just because it's a charity doesn't mean that you don't get paid as a musician. Not
I actually
always.
got one of my best
Not always.
fees for that time from Wiener Hilfswerk, which is a charity
Yeah,
organization.
some have they have
And
just
that felt strange to me.
I know,
as
no,
well,
it's
I have
weird,
to
it's
say,
weird.
because I was like, wait a minute, this is a charity. I'm supposed to be like helping. Yes.
Yeah, there are also musicians that play for charity, but they they say, this is my fee, you give me my fee, and then I donate this fee
Yes,
to the
exactly.
charity.
That happens, exactly. And for example, that we did that actually with the Amadeus School, which is a wonderful school here in Vienna for actually it's just a regular school, but they have a very strong musical background and very strong artistic background, and they have a wonderful festival, first time last year, and we decided to donate our fee to a kind of scholarship program for that school. I think it's good to have one's causes as well. I mean, one needs to figure out as well what do you care for? Do you care for like little kittens, homeless kittens, or do you care for starving children? Do you care for music education? And it's good to find out what is your cause as well. Of course, you get asked and you could in theory do many different charities and this and that. And I'm not saying say no to charity generally, but sometimes you just have to decide what is important to you, and you can even actively go after those opportunities. I think that's something definitely to decide. So I think that's it. If you don't have any more questions, I guess we can tell you a little bit of what we're going to be doing in order to earn money. We have a performance on the 1st of December in Mainz. Now, Mainz is very
Not
near...
yours,
No,
but Mainz.
Mainz is very near Frankfurt. And actually, it's in a place called Frankfurter Hof.
Which is a bit confusing.
Yeah. But we've played there several times. We're going to do our show, and now Beethoven. And actually, from that show, interesting enough as well, we have a few pieces that we've published on Universal Edition and that we're publishing on Universal Edition. I think we'll put some links in there. So if you want to play some of those crazy arrangements and pieces that we play in the show, you can check them out there. And I think also we'd like to tell you about our next stream, which is super exciting. It's going to be on the 29th of November. And we are going to talk about stage presence. Now
It's Christmas, so that's why we're talking about presents.
Yeah. Well, it's
You
not
get
that
presents
kind
on stage.
It's not that kind of. It's actually how you dress on stage. You see, do you wear something like this, or you know how?
Do you look like a complete nincompoop? Or
How do you transport your charisma as well? You know, how do you behave on stage? Do you play the diva? Are you going to be the humble artists?
is that the sign for diva and this is the humble artist?
Yeah,
The diva
exactly.
and humble artist.
Yeah. But let's not get into that at all. And maybe we'll leave them a little bit with something. Actually, we just did a very special show in Düsseldorf called Stars and Freaks. This is somewhere.
We're not going to leave them yet.
Oh,
But
no?
no. But we can. We'll
Oh yeah,
yes.
okay, yeah. But I just wanted to tell you about what we just did. Actually, we tried to have Sophie and her sister on that show, but they had to play somewhere else. They were off in Italy winning competitions, as one does. But it was basically we invite talents from all over the world who do extraordinary things, who are not just the regular performers, but who kind of explode outside of the realm of the usual classical music world in the Tonhalle Düsseldorf. And we actually have more concerts there coming up on the 26th of March with extraordinary musicians, and then again in June. But maybe Hyung-ki is going to show you one of the crazy
Well,
freaks.
this is one of the guys that we had. His name is Nicola, and he actually makes. Well, he's great for sustainability and helping the environment because he makes his own instruments out of recycled plastic and used materials and stuff. So everything he finds basically junk, garbage, and then makes these instruments out of it. This is Nicola Bras. Just a little.
Look at these pipes. I was actually at Nicola's place, and he has over 1,400 instruments that he's built. A lot of flutes.
A lot of flutes, like 1,000 flutes or something, you know?
Something like that. And what I really love about Nicola is that he's just incredibly musical.
Yes.
everything he does has a inherent
It's wonderful.
musicality. It's a very, very special musician. Another crazy musician we had is this guy called Eddie Harper, which is from Italy. Eddie Harper is actually a beatboxer who very often beatboxes on the streets of
Yes.
Italy.
And this is him beatboxing with other body parts.
Ogni volta lascio quella capsula.
Look at that, he's taking
Ok, in questa
off.
parte vorrei utilizzare il mio naso. C'è una piccola
In
radiolina
this part, he's going to
incorporata.
use his nose.
Check this out.
It's crazy. Look, just with his throat, he's just holding it to its throat. It was so crazy to see Eddie perform in the Tonhalle Düsseldorf, which is with this super conservative concert hall, and he was getting the crowd going. It was amazing. And then, of course, we performed all together. Guess which piece we performed together with everybody? I Will Survive, of course.
Incredible.
So that
Incredible
was
stuff.
really a very special show. 26th of March next year. I believe you can already get tickets for it now. So I would recommend doing that. It's a great Christmas present, by the way, to see us live in Düsseldorf at this amazing stage. Or actually 1st of December in Frankfurt. And then...
Mainz. In Mainz.
Mainz.
At the
You see, it's
Frankfurter
so
Hof
confusing.
In Mainz.
And
Not
then-
yours, Mainz.
And then after that, actually, we're going to go to Milan and Zagreb with this guy called, maybe you've heard of him, John Malkovich. That's going to be a work called The Music Critic, this crazy concept that I came up with. But we'll talk about that next time on our next stream, which is going to be on the 29th of November. We'll tell you about our shows with John Malkovich as well and delve into that. And we'll talk about stage presence and how to have more of it or less of it or whatever you want. So
And just remember, everybody, that failure is the road to success.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Anything else to say? Sophie, you're happy? You're
So happy.
You're
Thank
happy,
you.
happy with your life. Yasha, you're happy with your life? Excellent. You know?
Me too.
You're also, even if you were not happy, you're putting on a smile, and that's the way to go. So guys, you've been a wonderful audience. I guess.
Thanks for putting up with all our technical failures.
Exactly.
Sorry it didn't work out.
So, and we'll see you again on the 29th of November. We love you.
Next episode of How to Fail
Yes.
and Succeed.
Don't forget, we love you. He loves me. I love him. He loves me more, or something like that.
Something like that.
Anyway, shoot the end credits.